Hi, I'm Pam Cullen from 3 Mile Pond Girl Creates, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Augusta, Maine. So today I'd like to show you how I made this beautiful card, and we're going to be using products out of the brand new July to December 2021 mini catalog. And let me tell you that there are some gorgeous, gorgeous new products in this catalog. And so let me just show you that first. I can't show you the inside yet, but I can show you the products that we're going to be using today. And so if you don't have this catalog already, and you'd like to have one, please reach out to me. I'd love to send you one. And along with this mini catalog, we are also kicking off Celebration, which means for every $50 or $100 you spend, you get free products. So this is going to be a great time to make your list and get all those great products you've been wanting. So this is the card we're going to be making today, and a lot of it is going to be die cutting. Not a lot of stamping on this card, but I think it has a lot of impact and a lot of interest. So let me show you the products before we get started. So this is a suite of products, like I said, from the new catalog, and man alive, look at all this stuff. You get 2 bundles. You get the Christmas season and seasonal labels dies. You get the Christmas to Remember and the Christmas pine cone dies as well. Then you get this beautiful, beautiful designer series paper that with all these beautiful pine cones, flowers, all of these gorgeous, gorgeous colors, and we're going to be using some of that today. You get these really, really pretty, and we're going to be using these on our card today. They're gold holly leaves, and they're very, very thin, but look how sparkly, look how pretty those are. So we're going to be using those today. And this metallic ribbon, it's cherry cobbler and gold. And look at that sparkle on that. That's beautiful. We're actually going to be using a different ribbon today, but this is what comes with this suite of products. So see what I mean? This is a lot of stuff that you get in this suite. So you can buy these together. You can buy this as a bundle, you can buy this one as a bundle, or you can buy the whole suite and get everything if you prefer to do that. So, and as you can see, that's what I did because I needed to have everything. So let me show you what we're going to be using to make this card today. Let me show you the pieces that we'll be using. So the first piece we're going to use is a piece of soft suede cardstock, and it's 5.5 by 8.5. And it's scored at 4 1/4, and we're just going to go ahead and use our bone folder, give that a nice burnish right there. Then we have a piece of 5 1/4 by 4 that we're going to be putting on the inside of our card. Then we have, like I said, we're going to be using that beautiful designer series paper. We're going to be using a piece of this, and we're also going to be using some of this other side, which I think is just as pretty. So we're going to be using that. Then we're going to need, like I said, there's a lot of die cutting on this. So we're going to need a piece of real red. Let's see, we'll put this in here so you can see. So we're going to use a real red for that. We're going to use the pear pizzazz and the garden green to cut this beautiful piece of greenery for the back of that. So here's our garden green, pear pizzazz. Then we need some early espresso and soft suede for our pine cones on this. Then we've got this little piece of designer series paper that we're going to use for the inside of our card just to finish that off. And then the last thing is some scrap paper to do our stamping. So that's all we need to get going on this card, so let's get started. I think what we'll do first is we're going to go ahead and do our stamping. So we're going to stamp this image here. We're going to stamp on this image here, and then we need to stamp the berries and the holly for right there, and then we'll stamp this piece for the inside of the card, and we'll be done with our stamping. So here we go. These are our stamps, and most of the stamps for this set are photopolymer, so we're going to go ahead and use our stamp and our pierce mat for that so that we get a good impression on on our pieces of paper. So the inks we're going to be using today are Garden Green, Pear Pizzazz, and Cherry Cobbler. So let's start. We're going to go ahead and start with our Pear Pizzazz, and we're going to stamp that holly image. And we're going to just ink that up and stamp our holly image right here. There we go. And then there's this second image here that is going to fill in and give us a little bit more color and definition on that piece of holly. And as you'll see when I'm stamping this, whoops, I got it upside down here. As you'll see as we're stamping this, that it's not going to line up exactly. You know, it's going to be longer than the piece actually a little bit. But that's going to be fine because we're going to use, let me show you that. Let me show you some of the dies we're going to be using. So as we go along here. So we're going to take this piece, this die right here, and we're going to cut right around that. So we're going to, and that is actually going to cut out two pieces. We're going to get two individual pieces of holly on that. So that's one of the dies that we're using in this set for that. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp in the Cherry Cobbler. We're going to go ahead and just stamp these little holly berries. So we're going to stamp those right on the side here. There we go. Then we have this die right here that's going to also do the same thing. That's going to cut out those holly berries for us that are going to go right on our card. So then we're going to take this die here, there's a lot of these border dies in this suite, and I just love it because it gives us so many options. And you'll see in a minute that we're going to use one die to do a couple of things on this. So this is going to, I've already done that, so this is going to go ahead and cut out that sentiment piece right there. So I think, yep, I think those are the only two pieces we needed to stamp on that scrap. So then we're going to go ahead and take this image that we've already cut, and we're going to take this stamp set that says "Friends Like You Make This Season Special," and we're going to stamp that in our Garden Green, and we're going to put that right in the center of the sentiment piece. Just give it a good stamp. There we go. Okay, so now we have our sentiment piece done. And the last thing we need to do for this is we need to go ahead and stamp the inside of our card. So we're going to take that piece of 5 1/4 by 4, and we're going to go ahead and stamp that Merry Christmas again in the Garden Green right along the top. There we go. Stamp that right there. All right, I can see we got a little piece of the ink on there, so we're going to flip this over. And I'm just going to clean this off a little bit before we try it again. There we go. And we're going to try this again. Right in the center there. See, this goes to show you just want to go down, straight down. Don't wiggle. And straight up. There we go. So we got a good image that time. So there's the inside of our card. So I believe that that's all the stamping we need to do, and we'll go ahead and glue that piece on when we get our glue out, because we've got a lot of gluing to do on this piece. So we're going to go ahead and close up our ink pads, because I believe we're all through those. And then I'll start showing you some of the die cuts and some of the pieces that we're going to go ahead and put on this card. So, yep, we can put that away as well, because we don't need that anymore. So one of the things that I did for this piece, I'll show you as we go along. Here we go, all of these pieces. And a lot of them go together. It's like 2 steps or 2 phases of things together. Like, let me show you this. It's like the pine cones. You get this pine cone die. Let me show you here. You get this pine cone die, and you get this pine cone die. So this is going to cut out each of these pieces. Same with the small one. This one and this one, you're going to get these pieces out of that. Then this is, again, here's your sentiment die here. And here are your holly and your, I mean, you can't, I mean, this, you can create some gorgeous, gorgeous things with this. So let me just show you this piece, because we're going to do something a little, we're going to use this die here, which cuts out our red image. Let me bring the card back in here. So we've got this red image, and then you'll see that we also have this other piece around the outside. So what I did with that is I went ahead and cut the same image, used the same die and cut this image. But let me show you what we're going to do here. This is a good way to segue into our putting this card together. So what we're going to do with this is we're actually going to take our paper snips and we're going to cut this piece right down the center. So when we go to glue this together, what we're going to do is we're just going to add this to the top and the bottom of our piece, and that way it will give us that added piece of our image on the top. So that's another little trick. You know, it's very diverse because you can use this for more than one thing. So let me show you these beautiful dies right here. These two also come with this set, and again, it's a layering process. So you're going to, this is kind of like your solid base. This would be your bottom base here. And then this is your top layering base that's going to go over that. So let me show you this. I've got these already cut for us, and so let me show you. So this die cut this piece. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. And I mean, you could trim this, you could cut this, you could use just pieces of it. I mean, it's so versatile. You can do so many things with that. So then this die cuts this piece. And look at that. Look at the intricacy of that piece. And look how beautiful that is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this piece to the bottom piece, and we're going to get that beautiful outline for our card. So there we go. So these are the pieces we're going to use. So like I said, a lot of this is die cutting, a lot of it's layering, but I think that the end result for this card is really, really pretty. And there are so many options for using this set. This is just one thing that I did. So let me put all these dies away and collect our pieces here, because like I said, we have a lot of gluing to do. So we'll go ahead and get started. And so one of the things that is a must-have, at least one, I have 2 or 3 of these, because one always needs to be cleaned because I'm always using it. And the nice part about this is it's just a silicone mat, and you can glue all over this, and then you can either just rub the glue off with your fingers, or you can use soap and water and get it clean, and then you're right back in business again. So let's start gluing some of these pieces actually together, and then we will go ahead and put the card together. So what I did for this is I'm going to use, if you watched my other video, I had a little piece of sponge and my glue, and I actually used the sponge in the glue and dab that on. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again, because I feel like that's a really good way to get glue onto these really small pieces. And we're going to do the same thing for our pine cones, because those little top pieces are similar to this. So I think it's a good way to do that. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue in the corner of my silicone mat there. And then I'm going to just dab the corner of my sponge in there and get some glue on there. And then I'm going to just tap that glue all over this piece of greenery. Like that. And so this is going to just put glue on all those little places that if you try to use your glue bottle to do that, you'd have a lot of glue in places that you don't really want it. So now we're going to take this green piece and we're going to go ahead and place this piece on top of that piece. And so what you want to try to do here, make sure I get it going the right way here. Yeah, that's important. You want to make sure, see, there's actually, this is directional. So you actually, let me get this out of the way, want to, as you go along here, you want to just kind of line those images up here, kind of put them together as you go along. So I wouldn't put the whole piece, you know what I mean? I would go slowly along like I'm doing here and just place those pieces on here. And the nice part I keep saying about the liquid glue is that it gives you a little bit of time to pick things up, reposition them, and get them back where you want them to be. So there, look at that now. Let me show you that now. Look how beautiful that is. And you get that two-dimensional look to your piece. And I think it's going to make a real splash on the front of our card. So now we're going to do the same thing to the back of this. And we're going to go ahead and take that glue piece again. And we're going to just tap that glue on. Add a little bit more here. And ideally, what I should have done here is I should have used 2 mats, and then I could have had another one, but I think we're going to be okay. Like I said, this dries clear, so it's not going to show if we get a little bit of glue on the front part of our card. So then we're just going to pick this up. There we go. And we're going to place that centered on the front of our card. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And like I said, you know, you could use pieces of this. You can use the whole thing. I mean, there's clearly places that you could just trim this off and do other, do other things. It's so versatile. So then the next piece that we're going to put on our card is that piece that we talked about. So we're going to take, let me put this glue mat out of the way before we, oh, nope, we're not going to, you know what? Well, we've got it right here. We're going to do our pine cones, and then we'll be done with this and we can put it away. Just put a little bit more on there because we don't need very much for this. And so then we're just going to take these little pieces of our pine cone and do the same thing. And then put those 2 pieces together. And there we go. See, we get that beautiful outline image again on our pine cones. All right. There we go. Now we can put this piece away. And what I do is I just have a little container and I put my glue sponge in there, and I know that's my glue sponge. And I rinse it off every once in a while, but it's just a great way to have this to use. So that's my little container for that. So I'm going to put this away. And I'm actually going to grab a wipe here and get some of that glue off my fingers before we keep going here. So there we go. All right, so that's the most messy part of putting our card together. So now we're going to do this piece. So we're just going to to put our glue right on the bottom of this designer series paper, and then we're going to position it behind that red piece, line it up on the sides, and you can just decide how much of the designer series paper you want showing on each end, but you try to get it so it's even, you know, like you've got the same at the top and the bottom are pretty close. So then we're going to do this same thing on the bottom side, and I think we need to do a little bit more. Yep. Yep. So that's going to fit on the, I want to make sure it fits into the border of our page here. So there. So that's going to go on our base. So then the next piece we're going to do is we're going to take that piece that our sentiment piece that we stamped, and we're going to glue this together. It just gives, I just thought this piece gave it just a little bit more layering. So we're going to glue this piece onto that little piece of designer series paper. And I love that designer series paper. It's so soft and pretty. That's it. And then we're just going to take that and glue it centered on the front of this piece. I'm just hesitating a minute because I think I might have used dimensionals. Well, that's okay. We're going to put it flat. All right, so there we go. Actually, I'm going to see if I can pick this up because I need to do dimensionals on there if we're going to tuck those things under. Let's see. All right. So these are the things with the glue. I think we can do this here. All right, now that piece looks like a mess, but I don't think that that's gonna show. So we're gonna glue that down. Line that up a little bit straighter. All right, so we're gonna glue that down. It's crooked, that's all right. And then we're going to stamp another one of these because I guess I must have known I was gonna do something like that because I cut two of them just in case. So we're going to go ahead and stamp another sentiment here in our garden green. And the reason I didn't want to do that is because we're going to tuck all these pieces underneath, and if it's glued down flat, then it's going to be difficult to tuck all those things in, and I don't think it will look as good. So we're gonna keep going here, and we're going to go ahead and put this piece up on dimensionals. So we're gonna put a few dimensionals on the back of this piece. All right, there we go. And once we get this stuck on there, you're not going to see where I took that old piece off. It's going to be hidden under there. And no one but you and me will know what happened. And anyone else who watches this video, but that's okay. So see, now we're going to go ahead and tuck that Friends Like You Make This Season Special, and we're going to put that. And so now, see, let me show you what I'm talking about as we go along. See, these things are going to tuck underneath there. And if it was flat, we wouldn't be able to do that. So that's the reason that I changed that up. So now we're going to go ahead and take this whole piece, and we're going to go ahead and glue it down to the front of our card. Alrighty, so there we go. So we're coming along. Look at that. That looks really nice. And like I said, we can't see where I took that other piece off. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to start placing these pieces. I think what I'm going to start with first is I'm going to go ahead and do these 2 pieces of holly and the berries, and then we can fit those, then we can go ahead and fit those pine cones in around those. So I'm going to put this first piece of holly right in here. Second piece right beside it. And then we're going to go ahead and take our pieces, our holly berries. Oh goodness, I can't pick any of this stuff up today. And we're going to set that right here as an accent piece. Just going to put a little glue there. I'm going to glue that onto there, but we're going to be careful not to cover any of our sentiment. All right, so there we go. So then we'll go ahead and put our pine cones on. Go ahead and tuck that right in here. That's right, tuck it under that berry a little. There we go. Smaller one we'll tuck down below. There we go. And then we're going to add a couple of our gold holly leaves. And these, like I said, they're just really lightweight, like paper. So you can just glue, you can just use your liquid glue right on those as well. Sometimes with the heavier ones, you need to do a little bit of, you need to use a glue dot or something like that. And you could use a glue dot with these, but I think that this glue is going to work just fine. Tuck that under there. And there's a couple of sizes. There's larger ones, smaller ones. So it gives you some options for those. And then we'll just tuck this one down in here, like so. And then we're going to use gold shimmer ribbon, because I just felt like with those gold holly leaves that the gold would make this stand out a little bit more than the cherry cobbler one. And really on this card, the only cherry cobbler we used was that. So I think this will be, I thought this went really well and made the front pop a little bit. So now I'm going to attempt to tie a bow on camera, which doesn't always go well, because when I was doing it before, I made a perfect bow the first time, but that's probably, plus I've got glue on my fingers, which is not helping. So let's see here. This is really nice ribbon though, and you can see that you can work with it really, really well. So if I can get my twists out of it. There we go. All right, so then we're just going to take our snips, and probably if I cut it, I just don't like to waste ribbon, so I like to leave it on the spool until I get my bow done, if it's possible. You know, I don't know about you, but I could fuss with my bows forever. But we need to move on here, so we'll stick it down and I can fuss with it later. So then we're going to take a couple of glue dots and we're going to go ahead and stick that down to the front of our card here. Center that in the middle. Go. Whoops. What happened to my glue gun? I guess I didn't stick on there. There we go. Got one that time. All right, so we're going to stick that down there, like so. Put down a little. And I guess I'll go ahead and trim this side of the ribbon a little bit more so it's more even. And sometimes, this one is actually sitting pretty well, but sometimes if your ties are going a little wonky or something, you can use some more glue dots to make your ribbon sit a little bit more securely on the front of your card. Okay, so I think that the last thing we need to do is we've stamped our sentiment for the inside of this card. So now we just need to take that small piece of designer series paper that we cut, and this is this piece is, I wrote it down and I can't remember it. I'll put it on the video. I'll put it in the, it's 1/2 inch by 4 by 1/2 inch. And if that's not right, I will correct it in the description with the recipe for the card. So there, so we're just going to add that, we just add that little piece to the bottom to kind of tie the front in to the back, the front into the inside. And we're going to center that on the inside there. And there we go. So here's my first card. Here's my second card. And I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed all of these products that I highlighted. Again, if you'd like to have the mini catalog and the celebration catalog, please reach out to me. I'd love to get one in the mail to you. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. So reach out and we can talk about what that would look like for you, what you're interested in, if you just want to be a discount shopper or if you want to do more. I'm happy to talk about that with you. So thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Take care.